You guys are already here. Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Most welcome to this live session. My name is Ugaman, and this is the Ugaman 01 official channel. And you guys are most welcome. Yeah, so very welcome to this edition. So today we're gonna be talking about business. We're gonna be talking about Twitter. Okay, so Twitter is one of the social media apps that is very marketable lately, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, everyone that is doing social media today, there are platforms that you need to have a presence on. And when I talk about those platforms, Twitter is one of them. Okay, so that is why it is very important today to make sure that you consolidate some of these apps. Okay, fine. Now, first and foremost, before I go forward, I want to ask you guys, if you're new to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you are a first time person here to watching, please go ahead and let me know where you're watching in from. And also, please don't forget to drop your Twitter handle. Don't forget to drop your Twitter handle, because I'll be going over the comments and then following up on everybody that has been watching. But first and foremost, most welcome to this edition. So let me kick into it. You've had Twitter marketing, you've had people talk about Twitter so many times, and one of the things that comes to your mind is Twitter is maybe for news, Twitter is meant for politics, Twitter is very difficult to use to build a brand, and maybe also Twitter is not one of those platforms that is very favorable for newcomers, for people that have not used the app before. So what I want to tell you today is that Twitter is just like any other social media platforms. What makes Twitter different is it's got some features that you need to know how they work. And that is not rocket science, okay? Guys, it's not rocket science. But let me tell you, before I actually go into details of some of the features that you need to know how they work, let me give you reasons why Twitter is very important for your brand. As a business, you want to put your business on platforms that have great attention. Now, when I compare all platforms, despite the fact that Facebook has the largest number of users, Twitter has the highest level of attention given to any news that is breaking news, given to any events happening around the world, given to hashtags, and given to the power of conversations. And I am talking about real-time conversations. Twitter has also got much more power when it comes to Twitter search than Facebook search. And this is because so many people use hashtags on Twitter to categorize their conversations. That makes it very easy for users to find these conversations and be able to actually be part of that. Now, you want to put your brand on a platform that gives you an opportunity to tap into the attention span. Something that is underrated and so many people usually don't talk about it is, when you're on social media, the biggest asset you want to trade in is attention. The content you create, the quality of content you create, and how frequent you create your content, it is all validated by how much attention it brings to your brand. And when I talk about attention, I'm talking about attention that is impactful, attention that creates value for your startup, attention that creates value for you as an individual. That is the attention that I'm talking about. The tricks that I'm about to give you today, for those of you that are already watching, the tricks that I'm about to give you today, these are tricks that you're going to be using to actually ensure that your brand is positioned well to tap into this attention trade. You may know or you may not know that what we trade on social media is basically and majorly the attention that is given to the subject, the attention that is given to the brand, the attention that is given to conversation and discussion. So my friends, if you are watching me right now, please go ahead and comment with your username on Twitter. I would love to follow you up. My username is Ugaman01. And if you're already watching here, please go ahead. You can take a break. You go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'll be giving you a shout out for having joined into the video. But also, we can go ahead and make sure that we share each other's content to make sure that we leverage on the networks that we have built. Now, so many people ask questions. How can I use Twitter to grow my business? Is Twitter even valid? Is Twitter valuable? Why should my brand be on Twitter? I have already a Facebook account, and why should my brand be coming to Twitter if I already have a Facebook account? Why should my brand be coming to LinkedIn if I already have Instagram and Facebook? Now, I want to start from the basics, and I want to start from the ground where I think many of you will be able to grab this. I want to tell you guys that Twitter has so many users that are instant and that are live on the application at any one time. Twitter is the major application for breaking news worldwide. Twitter is a major application for brands that are carrying out campaigns. And they do these campaigns in terms of hashtags. Okay? So one of the things you need to master and one of the things you need to know is that when you put your brand on Twitter, when you sign up on Twitter, you open your brand to a wider community of people. But then the trick is not getting your brand on every conversation. The trick is getting your brand in conversations that are relevant to your objectives and goals. And that is what makes a difference. So many people sign up on Twitter and get it wrong. They think you must jump onto every hashtag. You must jump into every conversation. You must jump into everything that is happening around the app. That is not how you can get better results, because any strategy you use on Twitter can give you results, but you want results that are going to impact your business. You want results that are going to give you this major focus on your goals and objectives, and that is what you should be aiming at. Now, if that is what you should be aiming at, then you have got to know how to position your brand on this application. You have got to know how to position how to position your brand on Twitter. First and foremost, how many times do you tweet? The number of posts you put out on your Twitter account matters. What features are very important for you as a business person? These are the features that I think, as a person that is willing to use Twitter for your business, that you should be paying attention to. You should be paying attention to how to use hashtags. You should be paying attention to how to use the retweet, the like, and the quote buttons or the quote features. And then you should be able to use the DM feature. Now, when you are going to post on Twitter, just like any other application, you need to use a language that you're comfortable with, and then you need to know the characters that bring out your story the proper way. Initially, Twitter used to have 140 characters, and now it has 280. 208 characters are good enough for you to compose something briefly and be able to communicate. However, it is not mandatory that you should be able to use the 280 characters. You can be able to compose your content in a summarized way, and then also be able to use other types of content, which is a picture or a video or a GIF. Okay, so you can be able to compose a tweet talking about your product or service, and then include a photo or a picture into that tweet, and then you post. So you can limit the characters that you use and then include a picture to actually give a bigger message. What you also need to know is that graphical content communicates deeper and faster than text content. However, for many people that want to tap into the leverage of people that are reading your content, then you have got to use a mixed approach. If you're gonna use text, include a picture or a video into your content. This will give you a wider reach, but also will attract more people to pay attention to the content that you're putting out. Now, after you have known how to put up content, you need to know how to use hashtags. You need to know how to use hashtags. Not every post must have a hashtag, but for those posts that have a hashtag, it is very easy for those posts to be categorized. And this is why I told you that when you are using Twitter, you actually open your brand to a wider audience, because there are millions of people discussing different topics. When you use a hashtag in one of the groups or one of the conversations, then it helps you tap into the audience that is actually using that hashtag. At that particular time, when you put your content on that hashtag, people will read and will see what you're posting. Now, how do you grow your following? How do you grow your following vis-a-vis engagement? Twitter is a very fragile application, especially when it comes to how people look for followers and how people look for engagement. Now, you don't want to be spamming people. You don't want to be spamming people, because Twitter has also got an algorithm. Okay? Hey, hi Agnes, how are you? Twitter has got an algorithm, and I'm sure at some point you've had people saying that I have lost my account. My account has been suspended. My account, the features have been limited. Okay? Thing is, many people are usually compelled to overdo things on Twitter, thinking that is what is going to attract people to them. I always encourage people, if you have a business or you have a personal account on Twitter and you're tweeting for the first time, I always encourage people to make sure that you don't tweet more times than the content you would want to read yourself. In other words, space your content. Give time to your content to be consumed. You don't want to be tweeting every after 2 minutes, unless when you're doing a campaign, and that should be a one-off. Okay? So, Agnes, yes, I know Agnes actually. I remember you joined Twitter when, I remember a time when we were having a live chat, Agnes, and that's when you joined Twitter, if I remember very well. Yeah, but I would encourage you, Agnes, to still go onto that app and make use of it. So I'm trying to discuss some of the tips, some of the hacks that I want you guys to tap into. But the major thing I don't want you guys to fall for, I don't want you to fall victim of Twitter closing your accounts. Now, how do you avoid Twitter closing your accounts? First and foremost, when you open up an account, make sure that you have signed up. Okay? That you have signed up with a particular number, phone number, to which Twitter can be able to send a verification code. Also, it is very important that you use your email, because in case you are not able to access or to sign in with your Twitter, with your phone number, then you can be able to sign up with your email. When you put those, Twitter will cease to consider you like a spam or to consider you like an account that is not verified in its records. One of the challenges that most people face is they use the same numbers for different Twitter accounts. And then when Twitter detects that the number has been shared on multiple accounts, the other accounts will get suspended and one of them will remain active. Now, if you're one person that has been having like 4 accounts, you may find that the ones that have been suspended are actually the most active, and the one that is left is not the one that you use most. So you've got to be very careful. You've got to make sure that Twitter doesn't suspend you simply because you have not verified your information. So when you sign up, make sure your account has a bio. Make sure your account has a profile picture. Make sure that your account can actually be seen as human. Okay? At some point, Twitter can ask you to prove if you're a robot. And this is happening to businesses, guys. I know so many people that have opened up business accounts and then they get tempted to overfollow beyond the limit. Now, if you're new on Twitter, Twitter will give you a limit of 100 people to follow every 24 hours. Now, you don't need to follow every 24 hours. You don't need to follow 100 people. You need to follow a few people, say 10 to 15 people on a daily basis. And this following should be based on people you think are in your industry or on people whose bios you think are relevant to your objectives and goals. Now, you don't want to build an audience that is dormant. You don't want to build an audience that is dull. Just because someone is active on Twitter doesn't necessitate that that person should be following you. Because at the end of the day, your objectives and goals are what should be driving you on Twitter. Okay? And this is the real conversation that you need to be having. The people that follow you, the quality, I'm not talking about quantity. I'm talking about the quality of conversations, the quality of people that follow you on Twitter does matter a lot. Remember that every time people follow you up, on their timelines, there is somewhere a suggestion where Twitter can suggest that people can follow your account. And that is a Twitter algorithm that will be suggesting that. So if you have a good quality following, if you have a following of, good conversations, then you're going to actually have the best of engagement. And you're going to have the best of people coming to check out your account. Okay? So, as we keep engaging, what should we look up for? Now, away from the kind of content and quality of content that you share on your timeline, engagement is very key. Because engagement, that is what drives conversations on your timeline. You don't want to be a business on Twitter and you acting like a robot. You don't want to be a business on Twitter and you're not human. The element of engagement is actually what creates a conversation between a buyer and a seller, between a service provider and a customer. Okay? That is where it all starts from. Now, what kind of engagement should you look out for? Or what kind of engagement, if you're signing up on Twitter, should you be most interested in? The engagement that gives you feedback is very, very key. How do you prompt people to start engaging with your content? One, as a business brand, create content that invokes responses. Sometimes you could ask questions. Other times you could give options for people to select which options are best for the answers you're looking for. And other times you could ask people to give their opinion. Now, when you create this content that is formatted in that way, people are compelled to start engaging with your brand. And this is what you must look out for. Because at the end of the day, you want people to understand that you are a brand that communicates, that you're a brand that listens, that you're a brand that takes feedback. And this is what it means. So engagement is very, very paramount for your brand if it is to gain ground. But again, like I have said, when it comes to Twitter, how you get to know your engagement is by going to the notifications button. You will see people that have liked your content. You will see people that have retweeted, and you will see people that have commented either through a reply or through quoting your original post. Now, when you see that, then it gives you the opportunity to decide how you're going to react. In case your brand is getting negative feedback from a client, you need to be subtle. You need to be understanding that some of these clients may have had issues with your services or with your product. And you need to be very careful on how you dig the conversation, because you don't want to appear rude on the timeline. Okay? So as you engage with these people, you need to kindly, first of all, ask them what the challenge was. And once you realize the challenge, then definitely deliver your message of being sorry, or deliver to them a comforting message which says, we are sorry about the inconveniences that you have experienced. Kindly, let's talk in the DM, or kindly, let me send you a message so that we can get to the bottom of this issue. That is super fantastic. For a brand that is building on Twitter, and you can have that engagement where you take someone and have a conversation and tell them actually to move to the DM so that you can talk about their issue and find an alternative or find a solution for them. That is super, super important. Now, number two, if you have engaged with someone and these people have asked questions that are relevant about your product or service, then go ahead and DM these people. Okay? DM them, asking them what they would want to know more about. Ask them what products they would be interested in learning about. Ask them if there is any other way you can even be able to communicate to them. Because the real super value of Twitter is engagement. Like I told you guys, Twitter is the most responsive app that is on social media. Twitter is the most active app every hour, 24/7. Breaking news happens on Twitter. Very many hashtags and conversations are discussed on Twitter. Once you position your brand and you're able to actually tap into these conversations, then you're opening up your brand to a wider audience, which is very, very important for your own growth and for the growth of your brand. Okay? So engagement is very, very, very key. Number three, which I think is also a very important element that you should never underlook or anything like that. The quality of your content does matter. The quality of your content does matter. How you compose your posts, how you use the hashtags, how you place the hashtags, when you post, who you tag, do matter a lot. Because look at it this way. If a brand composed a post that seems not to be clear, if a brand posted a post that seems to be using a wrong hashtag, if you got some content online and you're using wrong images or wrong photos for that same post, you are getting it wrong. And this is where I'm saying the quality of your content is very, very key. In fact, content is the real king of Twitter. But engagement is the next in position when it comes to content. Because you don't want your brand to be posting and nobody is paying attention to it. And nobody is replying to your content. Nobody is reacting. You want people to react to what you're posting. And if that is going to happen, then the quality of your content must be one that can be reacted to. The quality of your content must be one that you actually can look at and say, hey, look here, this is the direction where I want you to go, or this is the direction where I want you to walk. That is how Twitter works. Because when you have the capacity to direct your audience and tell them what you want, then it drives the engagement to a deeper level. Now, many people say that when you sign up on social media, there is a lot of controversy, there's a lot of unnecessary replies, and there is a lot of attacks. Yes, just like any other application, there are people that have different agendas to be on social media. But you don't have to belong to every conversation. And also sometimes it is very important to avoid toxic elements on social media. If you're running a business and there is this one person that could be maybe sent by your competition, or that could be sent by someone who is in competition with you, then you need to actually be able to detect very fast if there is negative energy around your brand. Because the last thing you want to do is to portray your brand in a negative way on social media, especially on Twitter. Okay? So engagement is very key, like I have said. And guys, don't forget to make sure that you do construct content that is nice and lovable by people. Every time you're constructing content, construct it for the reader. Don't construct it for yourself. Or if you want to construct it for yourself, put yourself in the position of the reader of your content and post what you would want to read on a given platform or on a given brand or services. That way, you'll be able to craft the messaging that is right for you, and messaging that will actually suit your clients and your customers to be able to understand and to be able to get even engagement and feedback on your timeline. Twitter is a very important app for business. You don't want your business to miss out on the opportunity of engaging with wider communities. But it also takes time for Twitter to actually start expanding on your business. Remember, you need to have objectives and goals as to why you join these platforms. If you join Twitter without focus, and if you join Twitter for the sake of everybody is joining Twitter, then it is most likely that your brand will get stagnated at some point, because you will lack a sense of drive. You will lack a sense of direction, where you want to go and where you want to take your brand, and what level you want to see your brand grow. So it becomes very important to have a reason for joining Twitter. If you're one person that cannot keep engaging all the time, give yourself a routine, give yourself a calendar. When you wake up early in the morning, check who has tagged you and everything, and who has DM'd you, answer them. Then you can give yourself another bit of time. Maybe you check on that same account in the afternoon. Just make sure that you check your account at least twice every 24 hours. That will help you not to leave your clients hanging when they need support or help on your timeline. So thank you very much, guys, for joining in. And if this is your first time for watching actually my live sessions, I encourage you that you go ahead and subscribe. Please don't forget to like this video, and of course don't forget to share the conversation. Also, do not forget to leave behind your Twitter handle so that I can be able to follow and then continue the engagement on there. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. I'll be answering some of those questions that you have posted on this video. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. My name is Ugaman, and this is Ugaman01 official channel. I'll catch you guys again on the next episode when we cannot avoid each other. Cheers and have a fantastic night.